Hello everybody, Bits and Bobs on a Friday, and we're happy to say Will, of course, is here. Will, hello.
Hi, Joe.
And Dan McDonnell's joined us. Daniel.
Greetings, lads.
Last time I saw you in person, we were at the Aviva. Ireland had just drawn 2-2 with Hungary, and we were saying, do you know what, we're going to be okay here, 4 points, that'll be fine.
Yeah, they didn't really... I don't know if our tone was full, everything's going to be okay, though. I think we were on the negative side of the 2-all.
But I meant we're still in the camp.
Still in there. At least this is going to go to the last game, which it still might.
Still will. We had emails in saying, cheer up, everyone. We'll still go to Budapest with a chance.
Yeah.
And it's at that point you can do when our next meaningful fixture will be.
Yeah.
Save it for that night.
Yeah, I don't really want to play that game.
Someone sent a meme in. Did you see that?
Yeah, no, Joe sent it to me. Yeah, like say the line. And it is true. Like you have these sprinted campaigns now, so you have it's a long time between drinks if you're not qualifying for tournaments.
Will our next meaningful match though be like Euro 2028?
Well, no, I mean the games are meaningful between now and then, because you have to assume that England, Scotland and Wales will all mess up and you have to qualify off your own steam. So, I mean, do we really want to jump ahead into that campaign now?
No, no, I don't.
We will be sitting there of an evening going, well, look, maybe Ireland have just lost in Yerevan again, but Wales are playing tonight and like that's a big one for us. So that's where we're going to be.
Yeah.
It's going to be lovely.
Will's a father since you last saw him.
Yeah, congratulations. Yeah, no, I heard you discuss that. I thought he'd been tweeting more, so obviously something that happens though. Like
personal brand comes first.
You have a lot more time. You have a lot more time at home. Yeah.
Someone said to me, what I loved about Will talking about, I got to keep building my brand, is he was being completely serious.
Oh, I thought it was irony.
For two people with robust personal brands, wouldn't understand what I'm going through at the moment. Like, I have a child I have to provide for, and my personal brand is not where it ought to be at this stage of my life. Ergo, I need to build it.
This is a really illuminating period. It's like
it's
you know,
huge. It's
like I mean, I will
Crunch time. Crunch time.
I have to say,
The next 12 months.
You're
is
blossoming.
The most crucial 12 months of my life.
You're blossoming.
And possibly my career.
You could take 3 weeks off. You're blossoming.
Really? Why? On what basis?
I just feel like the iron is hot. It's time to strike, build that brand.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I will say that, like, parenting to me is the biggest transformation of all time for reasons away from it's like, what is the point of all these things I'm doing? Like, why do I spend so much time absorbed in this thing? In years to come, when you regret the time you've spent doing this or that, and then you just get back on the horse, you start working.
Well, we had a few emails in, with some emails in, because, well, I felt like Conor McKeon was a terrible example. He was sort of,
the stuff about hanging out in the car park.
yeah.
Oh, that's textbook. Yeah.
He was just
You have to do that.
Yeah, I mean, stolen time in a car park in those first couple of months is special. This is
I'm finding
this is terrible advice. But
yeah, but see, I'm minding
It is
the
far
child
from terrible
while
advice.
watching matches. Like I'm watching as much as I've ever watched because I'm able to mind and watch it.
I sort of relate to that. I did find on paternity leave I actually see more stuff because you're at home and you're around, and like I sort of associate like the Olympics, the closed doors Olympics with like being at home.
Watching
shared moments,
sport with your child is fine. Connor was advocating buying small amounts of milk.
Yeah.
So you would then have to go to the shop and escape your children routinely.
Yeah.
And I thought, we had an email in from Simon who's about to be a father. And I thought, I'm not standing over this, all right? Connor was trying to be one of the cool kids at the back of the bus. And I don't even think he means what he said. So here's what Simon took for that conversation, which is worrying. Long time, first time, as I listened to your Bits and Bobs, 15th of September, this morning on the dreary 5 a.m. drive into work. That's tough. The start of the show caught my attention with your chat about Will, his foray into fatherhood.
My foray.
Yeah. As an expectant first-time father myself, fresh off the back of a 12-week scan, congratulations. Connor dropped some advice that stuck with me. Always buy small milk because it means you'll get sent to the shop more often. I will use this nugget in 2026.
He's right.
Come on. I emailed Simon back.
Oh no! This is
What did you say?
Joe. This is a bit pious. Now I have to say from you, this is a little bit OTT.
And did you throw Connor under the bus?
OTT.
I didn't need to. I just offered some contrasting advice. I will be getting my partner to listen to the section of the chat about Will going to Donoghue's for a couple of pints with the baby in tow, proving it's both acceptable and normal. Therefore, I'll be able to go and watch my beloved Man United with the comfort of a nice pint. love the show. But anyway, look, I don't mean to be
You don't need
pious.
to be drinking doing that, to be fair. But like Conor, I mean, in fairness, I will say it's a slight difference to people out there. He is speaking from the perspective of a sports journalist who probably spends a lot more time at home than maybe someone working a sort of a rigorous 5 a.m. shift, like 5 a.m. drive. So, in that in that circumstances, an extra 10, 15 minutes. Yeah, the traffic's really bad here. I'll be home, and you're just sitting in the car park.
He is floating around doing nothing most of the time.
Yeah.
No, but sorry, what I screen grabbed something here. This is Usain Bolt. I did an interview this week,
Okay.
just talking about his life now.
Yeah.
So Bolt retired 2017. So he's talking about his day-to-day life back in Jamaica. Okay. He says, normally I wake up just in time to see the kids off to school.
Nah, that's
So
that's annoying. I will say that. Yeah.
oh, bye.
Yeah.
Back to bed.
Yeah. Then it depends what I have to do. If I have nothing to do, I chill out. I might work out if I'm in a good mood. I'll watch a series. I'll chill until the kids come home. I spend some time with them. I hang out until they start annoying me. Then I leave. Afterwards, I just stay at home and watch movies. Or I'm into Lego now. So I do Lego. Don't be him either.
That's a man, though, whose personal brand is so strong, he feels like he can now take a back seat and let the parenting come to him.
He's probably like, oh, you live in a nice house. I mean, how do you think you have that? In years to come, the Bolt family will. Yeah, I mean, that's a terrible way to look at it, but that's probably his mindset. Joe.
There you go.
I've done my work. I've done my work.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
What's happening? Katie Taylor taking time off from her boxing career to, quote, attend to personal matters. Last time we saw Katie was Amanda Serrano in July. So with the WBC belt, she is obligated to take on Chantel Cameron. So she's not doing that. She's going to be a champion in recess. So the other fighters can compete for it and keep the division active. So she'll have like a special status on her return. Don't know what the personal reasons are. They're personal, but worth a mention.
It's worth mentioning that the personal matters. That was a quote from the WBC chairman, not from Katie Taylor. So it kind of makes it sound more maybe weighty than it might be. You might just be like, I'm taking some time off to enjoy my personal life, but
Could be an injury.
yeah, but everyone's kind of running with it. It kind of making it look as if she said it.
Okay. That's a very important clarification.
Yeah.
Because the headline was, quote, personal matters. And I thought this is
But it was coming from someone else saying.
WBC.
I just assumed it was her statement. That's interesting when you speed read something.
Right. Well done.
Now I hope I'm right. I've said
No, I
with
suspect you
confidence.
might be. So that's Katie Taylor. Champions League last night. Marcus Rashford scored 2. Good goals.
Right, very good goals.
This guy fell out of a window, he'd go up. He just keeps landing on his feet, doesn't
The
he?
moral of the story is just leave Manchester United and go abroad, and great things can happen.
It's true.
Scott McTominay and Rashford, and I see they're getting messages from all his old mates, Man United mates. So
Rasmus Højlund as well scored in his debut.
just
It's amazing.
Like
Bermuda Triangle.
Barcelona are like one piece away from winning the Champions League, and it's now he's ended up there. It's such a crazy turn of events.
Erling Haaland scored his 50th Champions League goal in how many games?
49.
49 games. Wow. 50. So he has broken the record of... Who would you think scored the quickest?
Ruud van Nistelrooy.
Oh yeah, Van Nistelrooy. That was actually
Correct again.
yeah. It was Champions League era, you see. So that's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it could have been. You mean Ronaldo or Messi would be the obvious guess.
Yeah.
Though to be fair, Ronaldo wasn't like the
Yeah.
goal scorer in his first.
I might have got, if I didn't know the answer, I would have maybe said like Puskás or someone like that back in the day when they were, the format meant in the round 1 or 2 you might play someone from like very far from.
Yeah, but you only play
Okay.
you only play 6 games a year.
But they were winning 10-0 in some of those.
yeah, but
Did he even play 50 Champions League
no, he probably didn't.
European games? Yeah, Ronaldo, Van Nistelrooy took 62 games to score 50.
Yeah.
That's still a serious.
It's
strike
unbelievable. Yeah. And that was before. I do think Ronaldo and Messi have almost, a bit like the 4-minute mile, they've changed the psychology around scoring goals. There's a different expectation since those guys. Doing 50 and 62 was hard to fathom.
It's like a cheat code in a computer game when you're growing up. Someone scoring that 1-to-1 ratio almost is sort of now it's been normalised. But part of that is because the football has become more uneven in a lot of ways. So there is more hammerings now. It feels like there's more hammerings now, so you can snap back a little bit. But I mean, they're still incredible stats.
Incredible, yeah. So 49 games, 50 Champions League goals. Guardiola asked if Haaland will break Ronaldo's 140 Champions League goals, and he said, in this rhythm, yeah. Newcastle really committing, by the way, to tipping the ball off and just kicking the ball. Not just Manchester City style
a
long.
touch finder.
They found touch.
Rugby's everywhere these days.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
It
but
actually makes sense.
PSG, it's a PSG. Gary Breen I was talking to Gary Breen about it. It's a big PSG thing to do. You know, you 11v10, then you can squeeze them and 1-on-1 and.
I think particularly
marginal gains.
if you're chasing, say if you concede a goal with 2 minutes to go and you need to get back down and score, it's a good way of guaranteeing the ball is down the other end and you can pen them in as well. I feel like that it could be very effective at the very end of a game in that scenario potentially.
In that scenario, Rory Delap, if he was around today, between the long throws into the box and then being pressed in like that and being able to throw the ball 30, 40 yards.
Well, I mean, in the good old days, hammering the ball out of from the kickoff was generally a betting scam of some description. I'm pretty sure a player got charged for it.
Yeah,
that they should have just come up with that defence at the time. Like, no, I wasn't actually doing that. It was just for territorial gain. I really admire rugby in my spare time.
it just goes against the whole. Like when Man City did it against United, it just goes against like the whole core tenet of what Guardiola stands for.
But I was like, but I mean, look, there's obviously been rule changes and the game is faster and etc. etc. But like this, like, there's always evolutions and there's fads and there's trends and it just becomes a thing. And it's like, yes, this is the new thing that we need to do now. And people are looking at things. Yeah, this is we can squeeze them in this corner. Yes, this is how we get our advantage. And then
it's a retrograde.
But there'll be it comes round.
I understand.
Like Jack Charlton's tactics were a response to the tactics of the 80s, and like that's why they were so clever at its time, and you can't replicate them for the next 30 years because they worked at that time, and you always have to be ahead of the next thing. So this is someone, and this is the thing now.
It's a retrograde step. It's not evolution. It's a backward step.
What's wrong with it?
What's the best way of working a tip-off?
It takes no talent. Like there's no self-expression. There's no like. I mean, do you watch football to watch a press? Let's boot the ball out, play and press them. I don't watch football to watch that. It's garbage.
I'm not passionate about tip-offs. I don't.
I'm not saying
most Ireland fans are late for the start of the tip-off. It's like, I mean, the sanctity of the tip-off has really been taken away from
what it represents about the game.
It's one action in a game, or several if there's loads of goals.
I'm not losing sleep, but like it's
you just can't get.
It's the best idea I've seen in a long time.
But it takes no talent. There's nothing
strategy.
About
it's
this.
Strategic. Yeah. It takes strategic talent. But what's the alternative from a tip-off like? Well, I'm trying to think now how all the tip-offs go generally in a match.
Just play football.
They never lead to anything.
Play but you're an advocate of the high press just once it's not from a tip-off situation.
Yeah, then it's exciting.
Right. Okay.
I just want fathers who like their children and footballers who play football.
You're big on fathers spending time with their kids and the tip-off just being innocent. The innocence of
Call
the
me
tip-off.
old-fashioned.
Yeah.
Call me old-fashioned.
Yeah.
It's a good. I get the strategy. But is it really the way you want the game to go? Long throw-ins and all this stuff.
You're just trying to take a stance in this now. I mean, there's nothing in it. There's nothing in this.
Well, there's something. I think there's something in it. GPA grants. So budget is coming October 7th, and the GPA are requesting a 78% increase in the state grant available to all inter-county players, male and female. When I saw the 78%, I thought, oh my God, but then it's not actually a huge sum of money. Tom Parsons made the presentation yesterday of the GPA, and he has challenged government to walk the walk because they've had meetings of late and they've all been talking the talk and saying how much they value GAA players' commitment. So at the moment, an inter-county player gets €1,400 per year. GPA want this to go to 2,500. So there are 4,000 inter-county players, approximately male and female. So it would be a 10 million cost annually. The interesting thing is this was first introduced for male players back in 2008. And at that stage, players were getting €1,944 as opposed to the €1,400 they're getting now. And this is because of the crash. And so it was brought majorly down. Females players have been getting the money since 2021. One of the points Parsons makes, aside from we're getting less in 2025 than we were in 2008. How can that be right? He cites a report saying that the intercounty game generates nearly €600 million per year for the economy. So 10 million for players, not unreasonable. And he sort of makes the argument, if you don't give this to us, we're just going to keep coming back and back and back. He said players would not accept. I don't think the players would just accept it if we don't make progress here. We would be mandated by players to be back here in January knocking on the door again. So this is not going away for the government, and that's why I think they should really address it now. And one other thing he mentioned was, for instance, take a county like Leitrim, where 20 of the 32 from last year dropped out this year. He says, I talked to Stephen Poacher, the Leitrim manager, on why they didn't field a team, which was a big talking point this year. He said, there's no doubt about it. Those students in college in Dublin, they just can't afford to play the game. If we lose the likes of Leitrim, we lose the cultural heritage. Is this an open and shut case of fair enough? Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure. I think there's, like, I think you talked about it the other day. I mean, if you're talking about payments to sort of protagonists and participants in sport, and then there's a big sort of grey area around the payment to managers, which obviously would be a tax dodge if that is happening. No, I don't think it's an open and shut case. Equally, I would say that that's like, again, if you have a culture within a sport that is tolerated, or a blind eye is turned to it, or there's a sort of it's a difficulty to manage it within sport, should the participants, the players who definitely make a sacrifice, should they suffer? Probably not. But I mean, there needs to be a consistency with that.
So if managers were all above board in terms of payments, you'd be happy enough?
Well, I think you can definitely. I mean,
so you're punishing the players for the ills of what the managers are doing?
Yeah, potentially, yeah. But I think you could probably
just scrap the payment to players.
Okay, well, I will say that. I mean, this is why I'm helpfully going to end that road. If you are not punishing players for the ills of authorities and management, well, then surely the case for funding football in Ireland is an open and shut case too. Because that's the argument that will be used for not funding academies now is, well, can you trust the authorities, the administration, the overall issue? I probably agree with you. I don't think you end up in the road of, punishing players for administrative sort of errors at a higher level. So in that respect, probably yes. But unfortunately, we're in this sort of, this everyone's looking for a piece of this budget now. And I think it will happen now that in the next coming weeks, that and I'm coming at it from my own hat, right, from my own code, you could say here, that the argument is a completely compelling sporting case, and you will be told not to do it is, well, can you trust that what's going on elsewhere? I think you have to apply the same logic to this here as well.
Okay.
How transparent is the process of payment or inducements or benefits in kind, the times that they would get?
Park soccer for a second.
Yeah.
Just talk about this and its merits. Because, I mean, you want to bring in other examples. The International Carding Scheme for our Olympians, that in 2008 was 9,000 per athlete on average. It's gone up to 27,000. So there's lots of other examples that you can bring in here. Let's just leave other sports for a second. Let's just take this on its merits. Do you have a problem with them going from 1,400 per player per year to 2,500?
Why aren't the GA paying for this?
Don't know.
Like, why
that would be the one.
I don't really understand why we, like, and obviously, like, I love GA. I'm not in principle opposed to them getting reimbursed for expenses and whatnot. I don't understand, one, why the GA would wouldn't pay for it, and two, like, why are they getting any money? Like, in some ways, like, as in, it's an amateur game, steadfastly amateur game, amateur ethos. Like, why are they getting any money?
I think the logic would be, for all they give and for all they generate economically and culturally, they at least shouldn't be out of pocket.
I understand that point. I think there's a slightly unusual aspect to it, though. Like, for example, like, the government have made a substantial commitment to Casement Park, for example, which is, again, probably in line with what you're doing. But the government directly, I think Will touches on an interesting debate with it. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I do sympathise with the economic impact argument that's been made. I do sympathise with the point that was made in one of the pieces I read today that quite often, to be fully committed to be an inter-county player, it can often be to the detriment of your other career. Now, I know there's a lot of teachers and there will be a lot of people, and yes, there will be people who definitely benefit from being a GAA player in terms of getting opportunities, but that might be the minority as opposed to the majority. That might not be the Leitrim player that you're talking about. You might have someone else getting fixed up with a bank or something if they're a higher profile player, but a lower profile. So I think that's part of the argument.
A lot of
with
students.
Yeah, I do get
Put
that.
it this way, so 10 million total cost here to give all 4,000 players a few quid. Why are the GAA not paying it? That's a very fair question. Right, I'm with you. But like, it's come to the government's door. The government have traditionally, you could argue, look, the state is giving some kind of nod towards the contribution the players make to the economy and our culture. Maybe that's the argument. But hang on, so 10 million quid is what we're talking about. Why are we giving that 10 million quid to the Pittsburgh Steelers and Minnesota Vikings? You know, if we're into whataboutery.
But the argument is, and this is, I think that was referenced by Tom Parsons, that, well, they're bringing X amount back. But again, that's getting into the whataboutery of, well, what about them and what about them? And this is the thing, like, you're trying to judge it as a single issue, but they are fighting it on the basis of, well, you're giving that to this. So I know I've gone down a particular road with it, but that's what everyone is doing with sports funding in this country. Because we actually don't fund sport particularly well, it almost becomes a sort of an undignified scrap.
Sure.
Where, you know, around, and you can't help but make comparisons.
Question of who should pay for what.
Yeah.
Like where.
There's no doubt the GAA could afford the 10 million.
Yeah, so it's just kind of perplexing to me why it needs to be like paid for by us.
Well, the GAA, I assume the GAA are doing it. They're making a distinction between their members, that some members are more equal than others. But then the government on the basis, like, we're back to our old friend, the economic assessment case, which is the justification for everything. Like, that's why we give 100 million a year to horse and greyhound racing. You know, that's why 20 million a year is given to the greyhound racing. Like, which the benefit it offers, you can debate that now. Unfortunately, I'm going down that road now of what about it again, but that's what everyone has to do to fight their corner, is to go, well, why are you giving that? So when you put it like that, Joe, why are they giving 10 million? Then you're right. Of course they should. Like, you know, of course they should give them that money. And I would make that case about other things, but that's obviously not how things are decided upon. And it's very powerful.
Out of pocket, like what does that exactly entail and mean? Like what are they out of pocket from?
Expenses.
Is it because the machine has grown so large, the commitment has grown so massive, like that inter-counties gotten so demanding?
To the detriment of their professional life.
Exactly, like, so like is in,
but it's also like,
because it's gotten so serious, they have to neglect their work life now. They need more money to cover the
travel
shortfall.
aspect.
There'd be an argument.
Aspect, I assume.
Nutrition is incredibly expensive. There'd be an argument a lot of the college students can't actually hold down a part-time job and play inter-county sport. These kinds of things.
Although I would say,
like, it's €2,500 spread across 52 weeks of the year. No one's getting rich off this. It's just to cur. Like, not everyone's getting free boots. I presume it's all stuff like that. Your protein. I know a lot of your nutrition's taken care of, obviously.
The county board spending is quite substantial in some of those teams. I would assume that covers an element of that stuff.
That does. Gym membership and all that kind of stuff is covered. Yeah. I think it's just a helping hand because there are expenses along the way.
That's the kind of things I'm balancing. You hear all these county boards are spending huge sums of money, like, and then at the same time it's allegedly not still covering the shortfall. I'm just curious. I'm not saying they don't deserve the money necessarily. I'm just teasing it out.
Like, I certainly would have more of an issue with the government just like a click of the finger going, well, actually, we're going to contribute 40 or 50 million towards Casement Park, just like that. Maybe my figures are wrong, but there was a substantial amount that they committed to, when you could argue the players week in, week out, etc., making a commitment. Yeah, like it's again with government funding, it just seems like at times amounts that are quite small to them can be just willy-nilly can just be thrown out there for electioneering purposes or whatever it might be. And what you're talking about here per person is small. So you kind of tend to think, yeah, why not? But that's not how the sporting landscape works in this country for funding, unfortunately.
No, it doesn't. Like,
you have to pick away at the case.
Yeah. Because even just last week, it was in the news that Adair Manor, who, 60 million has been given towards the Ryder Cup. That, by the way, is separate to the 150 million on roadworks and making sure all that's done on time. But then the reporting was actually that 60 million, for all the logistics and security and different things like that, we need another 30.
See, that's
for a 3-day event.
That's the issue. And then you're like, well, hang on, these inter-county players give how many days a year? So in that basis, it's open and shut. But then there are other points that you have to make around, like, taxpayers' money and how, what other tax dodges could be going on within that.
Do you think, as a last one, Will, do you think your point is a common feeling why are we paying for it as opposed to the GAA? Or do you think the taxpayer sort of feels, no, I can recognise, you think of all the things our money goes towards, I can recognise a GAA player.
The latter, I would say. I'd say if you polled 100 people in the street, I'd say 90 would probably say that. And that's probably how, in the round, as you say, when you balance 10 million versus other costs and that nature, it doesn't seem so much. I'm just curious about some elements of it and some of the things that are being said by Tom Parsons, because, you know, it's funny, he says, oh, we'll be back at this door next year. Even if they get this, they'll be back again. It's not as if they'll get this grant and they'll be like, oh, that's it now. We'll
keep going. But when you consider it, so it's lower than it was in 08. Like, it's hard not to feel, if you're going to do this, you can't just have it lower than it was in 08. Like 10 million, I mean, that's about 3 hand dryers in the children's hospital at this rate. You know what I mean?
Well, no, of course. And again, like, we are towards the bottom of the table in Europe for spending on sport, and yet it's a sport mad country. So again, we're fighting over amounts that will be committed.
What are we fighting over? But are we all agreed this is fine?
No, I say we. Well, no, I said I think in the principle of it, I don't have a massive issue, but there has to be a consistency applied to other sports,
namely.
Yeah, well, I think there's a massive issue at the moment where, like, the players are in danger of being punished because of the mistakes and failures of administrators, and so that if this is the principle that is applied here, then fantastic, great, because that needs to be applied there as well. That's what I would say.
And if the GA don't want to fund it because they don't want to create some sort of 2-tier membership structure, then it's a little. What are we doing so they can get money from over here but not from over there? That seems a little hypocritical.
I don't know why the GA don't fund it actually. So there was a swell of rumours in the last 24 hours because at the ploughing on Thursday, just to mention, Mary Lou McDonnell was talking about the presidential race, and she said, I think Sinn Féin's participation is going to be a game changer in this election. It'll be very much game on. It's a sporting analogy. And so they're announcing on Saturday, disclosing on Saturday. So people thought, it's Charlotte Burns. You know, he's the obvious candidate. We'll take your Jim Gavin and we'll raise you Charlotte Burns.
Yeah,
it's not Charlotte Burns. He has come out this morning to reconfirm he will not be standing in the forthcoming presidential election. So that was just a bit of news. Will very taken with Jim Gavin and Micheál Martin enjoying ice creams.
I think it's, I think it's an embarrassment actually. But
what?
That's just my opinion. Yeah.
Wait, sorry.
I think the whole candidacy is, but that's just my opinion. Yeah.
Jim Gavin's
candidate? I think so. Yeah.
Oh, do you?
I do think so. I do. I have an issue. I do have an issue with the sort of the celebrity candidacy sort of being foisted in.
What about his life in public service?
Yeah, fantastic. I'd love if he was running as independent. I'd probably vote for him.
So it's a Fianna Fáil thing.
Yeah. I don't. I think someone I think the fact that he has to play that game. You know, and there's a pragmatism around it that you have to have this big network surrounding you. When prior to that, he was an independent figure in life. He was, a beloved manager of a Dublin team that represents everyone in the county. And I think now to see him sort of being dragged into the party politics stuff, I think it's appalling, to be honest. But I have the same view about Nina Carberry just being the sham sort of MEP stuff last year. She barely did a debate and she was sent off. And Gráinne Seoga, these people being brought in, with no real previous affiliation with the party that we can see, and just being put out there front and centre, and Vanda Killen going into it as a senator. I hate all that stuff. I really think I have a personal issue with it. I don't like it. Maybe it reflects my own opinions. But I think it's really unsavoury. I think as an independent, I think he'd be a very interesting candidate. But seeing him playing games with Micheál, and it's like sort of Alan Partridge videos and stuff, I'm thinking, God, if you win, that's fine. Maybe you have time to separate yourself from that and just establish yourself as a very credible president who represent, and you're not part of this machine. But all this palace intrigue, and I know you're diving in and listening to the political podcast. I love all this stuff. I enjoy it. But it's all the game and who's going to be used for this. And I think if he loses, I think it's grim, personally.
Well, there was an email actually alluding to that. From P. O'Brien. Given your enjoyable coverage of the presidential election, I thought you might enjoy yourselves the following quote from another podcast. It captures well why presidential elections can be such a chastening experience for unprepared and even seemingly well-prepared candidates. It was from David Axelrod, Obama's former campaign manager. The higher a monkey climbs on a pole, the more you can see its ass. And he said, it also made me think of something you previously covered, the line in Conor Nyland's book to the effect that a professional tennis career is ultimately founded on a horrifying gamble. Every successful player compromises their entire childhood to make it, but so does every unsuccessful player. One might suggest that presidential campaigns are also a very tough human gamble. Every successful candidate compromises their private life to make it, but so does every unsuccessful candidate too. Your point being, Jim Gavin doesn't make it, he's forever the Fianna Fáil.
Yeah, and I sympathise for him because he's obviously getting exposed, like mad stuff in the modern online world now and all of this. Like it's, he's going to come under some ferocious scrutiny, I'm sure, in the coming weeks, and that's not going to be pleasant. So I understand people saying there's a certain bravery in putting yourself out there to face that. I accept that, but I think when it's underneath a very slick, established political machine, that some people would be obviously...
It's hard to run for president because I think the cost is somewhere between 500,000, 700,000. Candidate, him or herself, expected to put forward 200 grand of their own cash or raise
I respect that. I do get that. So you end up with... Who do you end up as the independent candidates? I mean, you see some sort of horrendous options, but I sort of feel like, they're rowing in behind his status as a beloved figure within a world. I wouldn't have viewed him as someone affiliated with a party, and I just can't help but look at that now and go, I don't like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, when you said I was taken with Jim Gavin eating that 99, it was more just like how unnatural it seemed, rather than I wasn't like he has my vote.
That's an important clarification.
No, I was like,
I just jumped in there before you could.
I know I haven't spoken in a while, but I was like, has this man eaten a 99 in his life? That's what I was thinking.
We need to leave out Will clarifying that. I like the idea of Will.
Just to clarify,
he was very taken with it.
Will sitting in the office. The way that guy eats a 99, he's got my vote.
I like the cut of that guy's 99 eating.
I like it.
Oh dear.
Anyway.
Do you want Ryder Cup suggestion or in defence of Champions League?
It's like Highlander, only one allowed.
No, I'll go both. I'm just trying to judge the pace. Ryder Cup it is. This is just a quick couldn't agree more.
Okay.
We'd Padraig Carrington on this week if you want to listen back to it at any stage, previewing next week. John Team, all the usual plaudits towards the podcast. People are getting very blasé about their I like the podcast stuff now.
Yeah.
You're getting like the podcast, etc. I think...
Give us the full extent of your praise.
I think I'm done with the whole long time, first time. You do that at the start of every letter as a go, long time, first time.
Well, I can't help it if
people don't need to include that anymore.
Why not? It's context.
It's
good to know if it's a first time correspondence. You're in funny humour today. Do you know that?
Yeah.
Are you?
No, sorry, I don't know.
You didn't lose another jacket, did you? On the way
I
in?
didn't actually.
What's happening?
No.
What's
up? I did lose a car key before I came in, but that.
All I suggested earlier was that spend time with your children, and you called me pious. I just thought there's just.
Sorry, I put you on the back foot with that.
Whoa!
I could see where Connor's coming from, and that's all I'm saying.
There's a tension in the air.
I think.
There is, isn't there?
Yeah, I can detect it. You wouldn't think it was a Friday. You'd think it was a Monday.
Well, I'm just coming back to work after like 5-6 days off, so I just have to get back into the zone. I'm going to the Oireachtas next week with the FEI, so I have to get into that mode, right?
He has to wear a tie.
I need to get angry, so.
What are they talking about? Oh, it's all...
Oh no, this is going to be let's go to the Ryder Cup, because this is going to be next week. Like the FEI, this is the problem. Like, this is the most important time for funding in football's history, and they're going to go into the Oireachtas next week and probably get shredded, and probably in some cases shredded by idiots, but they're going to have to.
Politicians you like?
But they are like. But
I thought next week though was about safeguarding rules.
Yeah, but it's going to be a free for all.
Okay.
And listen, that's a very serious subject, right? So I don't even mean to be flippant about it, but unfortunately, like previous episodes will show us that once you're in there, you could be liable to anything.
Okay.
And like the timing obviously couldn't be any worse when we are the GPA are covering budget submissions, and they're very together in what they're doing, and football just can't get out of its own way. Okay. And that's probably what's coming next week. But you know what? I think let's just make that a next week issue and go on to your Ryder Cup.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, I'd say so, yeah.
Will you book him in for Thursday? I may or may not be off next Thursday. I need a break from you. No, I'm joking. All the usual plaudits towards the podcast. Gee, thanks.
Is that what it says? Yeah. Come on.
Thanks, Richard.
Richard.
No, go easy. Sorry. Sorry.
Oh, Joe.
A real staple of my day to day. I'd be lost without it.
Okay.
I mean,
that's more like a Richard.
Second line.
That's more like a Richard.
A quick one.
Just slated a long time listener.
Sorry. Quick one on the Ryder Cup. And sorry, we could not agree more with his email is the point. And in the day and age of every sport bending over backwards to make itself more appealing to the masses, the most glaring opportunity missed. Such a big deal is made of player selection. Who plays with who, what order they go out in. Fine. But why, oh why, is it blind? Why don't Luke and Keegan step forward to the Sky cart parked in the middle of the first tee box, Nick Doherty between them? Other presenters are available. Doherty would ask, as the home team, USA will pick first this morning's foursomes. Keegan, pick. Keegan goes, our first pairing is Scotty Scheffler, Sam Burns. Cue, chance of USA from the grandstand. Doherty, raising his voice over the madness. Luke, you have 30 seconds to confer with your vice captains before locking in your first pairing. And on we go. All the hype about selections is a load of nonsense, really, especially in the singles. Every single time it comes around, the randomness of the matchups does my head in. Making it reactive would create far more psychological warfare, as in, we think this guy beats that guy. Far more entertainment, makes the captains far more accountable post-match. Of all the changes to rules and naff halftime gimmicks we see other sports trying, this would surely enhance the experience without upsetting any purist in an event which a fella from these shores once called an exhibition anyway. Can't wait all the same. Would love to see it go into the wire Sunday evening. Cheers, Richard. Could not agree more.
That's a great shout, Richard.
100%. He's basically saying this nonsense of like, we talk about the captaincy and the strategy and all this.
To put them on the spot.
You pick your Sunday singles and you have no idea what it's just completely blind. Whereas if you imagine on the Saturday night for Sunday singles, you're Team USA captain, Will is Team European captain.
You go one at a time.
I come to you. You're picking you pick first for the first match. Who are you picking? You say Scotty Scheffler. Will, now captain. Who are you picking? Do you gamble Rory McIlroy? But what if Rory gets beaten by Scotty?
Go for Rasmus.
Or do you just say, look, or do you say Scotty's going to win? I'm going to give you a dud, but then we're going to win the next. And so then you pick your two matches, and then Will, you choose first for second match, and Will goes Rory McIlroy, and then it's on you.
It makes too much sense.
You've got such a. Then you can really talk about the captain getting something wrong.
Yeah, okay.
I asked Padraig Carrington, give me one mistake that you feel you made in Whistling Straits. He's like, I can't think of anything.
I did, yeah, but I think that's. I think that's fascinating though, because he's the most analytical person. I love Padraig Carrington, but I feel like that's just a.
Protecting.
That was a tough week.
Template.
That was a tough week.
But would you not agree that the captaincy? It's very debatable. A lot of the guff that when we talk about the captaincy that we go on with.
Yeah, I think there is,
and we need to kind of elevate the significance of the captaincy.
Yeah, okay, I like it. Yeah, I think there's the strategic element. It sounds like Luke Donald will need to go to like Dota Molinari and go, actually, who have we got here?
30 seconds.
It's on the spot. Like
you pick. Come on, captain. Scotty Scheffler. Because then you're like, you have to quickly think, how's Rory playing this week? What's his mood? What do the team need? Are we 4 points behind or are we 4 points ahead, etc.?
Yeah.
Like there's a real, come on, captain, go, pick.
They wouldn't agree to it, I think, for that reason. There would actually be a lot of things to consider. You'd go from like not considering anything and just picking your pairings, not knowing, to like having to consider, a whole host of things. And to the point about the singles, I feel like we often get one team front loading and one team back loading, and then you get like,
it's rubbish.
How often do we actually see two titans go head to head? Very rare.
Where is the?
Oh no, the singles you do. The first 3 or 4 games of singles are generally heavy hitters. Oh, they are. Like we've had some brilliant Sunday singles,
but sometimes it's like you're going.
It's the middle and the bottom. It can get a little bit messy. Yeah. But there's generally like the Rory Patrick Reed.
You don't know
Scheffler and Ram the last time, wasn't it? There have been some proper.
But you don't. But you don't know if Rory's going out first, second, or third, and Scotty's going out first, second, or third on Sunday. So it's a bit of just like, let's stick him out second. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't mind that part. I think the singles weirdly is where I feel it's not as relevant. I like it for the earlier stuff in the week, because one of the things at the ceremony on the Thursday is they announce their our first pairing is, and then Luke, and then the other person stands up and there's a big round of applause. That would be nice. You can mix that up a little bit. That every night you have to. But I actually like the singles where you take a gamble on, right, we're going to gamble on front loading, or we're going to gamble on, sort of putting the big guns at the end. And there's an element of when it comes out, it's like, oh, I'm not sure how that worked. For the foursomes and 4-balls, I like it. But singles, I like it as it is.
It's agreed to disagree.
Yeah. I like singles as it is.
I'm with Richard.
I'm a Richard too.
I like the singles as it is.
Richard would make a good Ryder Cup captain by the cut of his jib, I think.
Unfortunately, it wouldn't be Nick Doherty. It'd be some NBC person, wouldn't it? Whatever.
Whichever, like home advantage.
You'd have to go to an ad or something.
Yeah, but there's just a lack of, like we talk about football and substitutions changing games. There's a lack of. It's just pot luck who you happen to put first out on a Sunday versus who they put first out.
It is a problem. I know you talked about it, that the problem is it's just if the home team keeps winning, you have to find some way of like altering it. So eventually people come. It's like we talked about football earlier. Eventually people come to try and find something, and maybe a random element or a less random element is the way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In defence of Champions League, long time, first time, etc. Okay.
Standard.
You're bored of the standard spiel by now, I'm sure, he adds with the self-awareness. Some of us are, others not. Huge fan of the show, but I have to rant about a long-standing, mildly obsessive pet peeve of mine that I need to get off my chest. During Miguel's appearance in the football show, Miguel was really good, by the way, if you didn't catch it, worth a listen. It just gives a great kind of temperature check on European football. He repeatedly mentioned the oh-so-tired trope of how money has ruined the Champions League, turning it into a pale imitation of the great tournament it once was in its heyday 20 years ago. The specific date of the heyday is variable. Sometimes it's 30 years ago, sometimes 40, but it's usually strangely correlated to whenever the person speaking was in their teens. As you might be able to tell from the tone of my writing, I think this annoyingly widespread sentiment is complete and utter bollocks. As Joe gently pushed back a few times, mentioning the unbelievable quality of play on display night after night in the Champions League, I could feel a kindred spirit straining to burst out, and I was inspired to write this email and fan those flames of rebellion. This guy is.
I like this email.
This guy is good.
What's his name?
Connor.
Okay, Connor.
Weekly column, Connor. Yeah, interested? Inspired to write this email and fan those flames of rebellion against the boring consensus chorus of how terrible modern football is. Here are just a few reasons why I cannot stand, he puts in capitals, hearing people talk about the demise of Champions League football. First of all, there is literally no evidence that money has ruined football. Some quick Googling will tell you that viewership's not down in recent years, so obviously the audience, like Joe, appreciates the high quality of football. But, I hear you say, you're a purist and you're upset that the influx of money into football has made it that only a select few can ever hope to win the Champions League. Well, let's actually interrogate that claim. 2015 to 2025, 12 teams made it to a Champions League final. And in the supposed golden years of 95 to 05, 12 teams made it to a Champions League final.
How many different leagues are represented in those teams?
Well, I don't know, Dan.
Dutch league, the Portuguese league, the French league between...
Got to be similar if it's 12 teams.
No, it wouldn't be because Monaco, Ajax and Porto made the final in 95 to 2005, which none of them made the final subsequently. So,
okay. Does that undermine his point?
Yeah.
Does?
Yeah. 12
teams? No? Leagues for you?
I think his point that money hasn't had he was going well until starting that point. I mean, like we're heading into World Cups in Saudi and we've had Qatar and no.
Conor, don't take it personally. He's disagreeing with everyone today. But he says, maybe the competitive balance has not been totally destroyed. Well, we can accept that. 12 teams. Secondly, different clubs have always had competitive advantages over each other. Why do we only care when it's money? If we look back at the supposed golden age of European football 20 years ago, were any of those teams from rural areas? No. Did anyone ever suggest that we should ferry people from cities out to the countryside to even the odds? Did any of those teams come from mountainous regions? No. Should we blow up the Alps to level the playing field? No. I understand that money can randomly be bestowed upon a club in a way that seems unfair, but let's not pretend there was ever some utopian time when every single team in Europe had an equal chance of winning it all. Very final point, he says. It's a bit harder to quibble with the change that with the charge that the nature of the money flowing into football is oftentimes a bit dodgy. But I've been struck by the thought that billionaires and petrostates burning millions of euro to bring teams up the divisions and into the Champions League for a few seasons before they get bored is honestly not the worst societal use of their cash. It's basically a large-scale wealth transfer to those less well off, and it makes at least a few people happier along the way. How much better would the world be if Elon Musk had decided to burn a few $100 million, bringing Champions League football to Wycombe Wanderers instead of getting Donald Trump elected? I apologise for the length of this email, but I needed an avenue to vent. Keep up the great work. Connor. Good email.
I like the quirky aspect of like leveling the Alps, for example. You know, yeah, like that. And there is one thing I would say is that there is something about what is the traditional powers, and with the Newcastle stuff. I mean, how they've again, at times the last couple of years, like fans turned up in Saudi club or whatever, like they've demeaned themselves. But equally, there is a sense that, well, is it okay for, like, who are the traditional powers here? Is it only right and proper that it should be Liverpool and Man United or whatever? I do get that, you know, and like it's just the profile of it, obviously. I mean, Blackburn bought a league in the mid-90s by the old school way that you would do it. Just a local man made good, like just put in an over the top amount of money by scale at that time, and you win the league. And now it's just a more inflated version of that. And but look, the problem, and to be serious about it, like the problem is that yes, the top end of the game is absolutely booming because of what's happening. Like, you have this Super League movement, but the competitive balance has been destroyed further down. Most clubs in England are losing, and this is England alone, are losing like millions. And you are just going to see, like, you know, clubs are going to overstretch. Clubs lower down the ladder are going to struggle. You know, we see these clubs dropping away. So the top end of the game is thriving. The Champions League now, to me, is a bit like the NBA, where you're just watching, like, you can turn on a match and you're like, I'm not really sure what this means, but like, these are the best players in the world and I'm watching them. And I had that watching Newcastle Barcelona. I'm like, this is a really enjoyable game. Like, I was turning out the first half, I was like, wow, this is, I thought it was very good anyway. I was like, very hard to turn it off. But there is that thing, as like, well, actually, where is the real jeopardy for this match? And it's almost, they've got to the point where it almost doesn't matter, because the Champions League is structured in such a way that there's enough of the smaller fodder in there who quite likely are going to finish in the bottom 12 to get knocked out. So this is like, it is what it is. It's very much for the consumer now.
To be fair, every tournament in the initial stages, like, you'd like to kind of get to the nitty gritty more quickly. But okay, there's a reality. We need to stretch this from the start of the football season to May. Now, if we have jeopardy on week 1, we're not making May. I think you have to have a bit of sympathy for tournaments. Like, we complain about the GAA and for that reason, the provincial championships. What other sports? Yeah, you name them. Like, what sport starts off with jeopardy, really?
No, I'm not really disagreeing with that. I mean, like, you have the jeopardy, say, the World Cup qualifiers. They've gone the opposite with the international, where they've introduced more jeopardy, where you have these 4-team groups where all of a sudden you could be done after a game or two. Whereas the club is the other side now, where it's like, it's stretched out. And overall, I think the new format's probably,
it's an improvement.
It's improvement. I do think people forget that there was jeopardy in the old groups until quite recently. There were some good 4-team groups in recent years, but it tends to get it tends to be forgotten.
Like, you know, I'm completely with them in the main. I mean, we've lived through the double group stage period.
Yeah.
Like, let's not pretend it was always cooking, you know? Do you remember that?
Double group stage, but that was pretty good, wasn't it?
Ah, Jesus. I mean, now you want no jeopardy. Watch the first match of the first group stage of 2. Like, that was crazy.
Yeah.
What exists now is just for more games, more of the best teams playing each other. But that's the NBA comparison that, you know, well, let's see, you know, the ladder matters to a point, and let's see where you are. You might get into the top 8 or whatever. Yeah. Champions League. Now, you drop down the competitions, and like, the Conference League is brilliant. It's a brilliant format for there. Yeah. The Champions League one is just people know what it's about.
I think
the Super League
new format was kind of undermined to a degree last season in the meaningless sense that, like, Liverpool busted a gut to top the table. PSG were crap and came in the playoffs, ended up drawing Liverpool, knocking them out and going all the way and winning it. So it showed that, like, it is just
do enough to get through. You're fine.
You do the bare minimum and you can still win the Champions League.
Like this week is they've clearly, like, the fixtures computer is right. Like, they've got a lot of the smaller teams this week playing against sort of, you know, Benfica, Karabag, you know, Kairat Amati who are playing Sporting, who are Paphos playing this, and they have all these heavyweight clashes. Like, it's an entertainment product. It's been structured as such, whereas before it was more of a, well, there's a draw and it's a bit more, you see how it goes. You'll have one group of death and then you'll have a couple of average groups. It is what it is. Just have to accept that this is maybe the best case scenario of the worst case scenario, which was a complete breakaway. So you have to, unfortunately, swallow some aspects of it which aren't great for jeopardy. But the football is still, it's very good to watch.
You swallowed Liverpool Atletico, which is an amazing game, and you swallowed Newcastle Barcelona.
Yeah. Well, listen, the genius of the format is the clubs as well. I will say, don't play each other twice, because I do think the slight danger with that is that it becomes so. I mean, there is something clever to it. You know, there is something clever to it.
Was he right that the heyday of the Champions League for all of us was when we were teenagers?
Of course he is. Music was better when you were a teenager.
So what years was that for you guys?
See, now look, I kind of, It actually was better when I was a teenager. But like,
the 90s for me.
it was the 90s. But like that was, it was very hard to get into Europe. It was such a big occasion. And then there were these ancillary things. So I was a United fan growing up, and the 90s was this odyssey that culminated in 99. So it was phenomenal. And like there are things which were just of its time because the panel were at their peak on RTE and they were kind of covering it every Tuesday or every Wednesday. So it was, it was...
So I wouldn't say my teenage years, it was 04, 05 to 9, 10. Wasn't...
I didn't think it
Do
was...
you not think so? I actually, well, I was actually going to maybe counter on that and go, is that the heyday period? Like, because to me, like the 90s, I'm maybe a year or two older than you, so like the sort of
Juventus getting there every year, like that's
like
that exciting.
You think of like well, you had I always remember Barcelona hammering Manchester United, and you had the foreigners rule in Europe that you could only play X amount of, so you had to leave it. Like
that wasn't good.
Peter Schmeichel couldn't play because Gary Walsh was playing, so I don't think you could describe that as the heyday. So for me, it's probably not the 90s really. It probably is to me a part of the 2000s, but like towards the end you have the Barcelona Manchester United games, you have the Man United Chelsea. I feel like Barcelona Arsenal was 06.
Can I give you
Zidane, and I think the 2000s probably.
Can I give you a thought?
Is up there.
Can I give you a thought? It's always good. It's always been good.
Yeah,
it's still good now. And the knockout stages is the best sport you're going to see.
The knockout, yeah, I think you're probably right. Yeah, if they end up ruining the knockouts, that's when they've gone too far. You're probably right.
Okay, thank you.
We got there in the end.
Joe, there's no tension today. I feel bad now.
No.
I feel like I've offended you.
It's frosty.
No,
there's no tension here.
Chilly over here. No, it's having.
I've explained. The Oireachtas is in my head. That's the prospect of that is just. I read something this week about the FAI board are trying to extend their own term limits as well. I mean, that has just put me in bad form.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, so the FAI board trying to extend their own.
They wanted because there's obviously a lot of other important things going on in the world at the moment. So they decided that they should all stay for longer. Yeah.
Okay. I think we're out of time. I had a few other things, but we're at 50 minutes.
Can you just tell us what the topics were? We won't have
yes. A brief update in Tokyo. Kate O'Connor started well. TNT rugby fans. This is just classic TV trying to make it better without addressing the core, just make the conversation better. So there now in discussions with World Rugby, that we'll get to see the players' heart rates.
I saw that.
Oh my God.
I don't understand why that would be appealing in any way.
Well, they started doing it in golf and it's really, really boring. Oh, look, his heart rate is, give or take what it was, the same as all the other players.
And I'm guessing like rugby's pretty high intensity. That it's going to be like
they won't even show.
Would it be alarming if it was low at a point?
Yeah, golf would actually maybe be interesting standing over a putt. Like whereas
it's not interesting. It doesn't work.
It doesn't.
That's crap. And
Jeffers is broken.
And but they're not even going to show it in real time. It'll be it's after so it'll be like when they're back in studio and they're like, oh, and by the way, look at the drop goal. His heart rate was 140. That tallies.
That's just that's just
right.
an enhanced.
There's no
that on a treadmill on a Tuesday.
There's nothing that rugby can do to increase its popularity.
No,
nothing.
I had jotted down Bjorn Borg book. I read a few extracts this morning. I very much enjoyed the extracts. He talked at length. There was a famous final against John McEnroe when he was going for his 5th in a row, and it was McEnroe's first attempt at Wimbledon. Bjorg won, but he detailed. You can see why this guy retired early. The superstitions, everything has to be exactly the same meal, the same rental car year after year, like racked with. By the end of reading it, I was like, oh my God, I need a break from tennis too. So it was promising enough. And then, something I touched on yesterday, Marita Koch and her record, Sydney McLaughlin Levrone is trying to chase it down. Do you know you've seen this?
Go on.
So Marita Koch set a record in 1985. The anniversary's coming up. Maybe we'll do a piece on it. East German athlete ran the 400 metres in a record time of 47.6 seconds in Australia. It's untouchable. There's certain records, particularly in female categories, where it's like last world record. There's a glut of 1980s ones. This is like the white whale. And so Sydney McLaughlin Levrone, who has just dominated the 400 metres hurdles, I think she's set like... how many world records? 6 world records in 4 years in the hurdle. She's moved over to 400 metres flat to see if she can chase down how far can she go. And she's run the second fastest time ever just this week. And now there's talk that just maybe, Koch's record could be under threat. Now, Koch is still alive and has always denied any wrongdoing. But it must be said, after reunification in 1990, the Stasi records were handed over and Professor Werner Frank published them all, and his wife wrote a book as well, and she was very much named in it. Now she denies it, but she threatened to sue. Never did, funny enough. Maybe that's incoming. So it's just
That is really interesting. Yeah, that's a fascinating one.
yeah, isn't it?
Yeah.
The anniversary is the 6th of October. Maybe we look into Marita Koch.
The unbreakable records.
Yeah.
'Cause I remember being in Leipzig for the Euros last year, and where the Leipzig venue was the site of the old East German sort of their version of like, almost like it was like an Olympic stadium or like a big venue. And there's some photos of the 80s and the full stadium and the pomp and the ceremony and how much emphasis they placed on their sport. And it is fascinating. So that is like, that would be a good piece to do, I think. Just tapping into someone who could bring that era to life would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the Stasi kept very detailed records of all the doping. And
Why? That's not something you should be keeping records of, I don't think. Like, if you're doing it, like, maybe just like...
I think it was a society where you had to log everything.
Yeah.
I think.
a group that kept track of most things.
Maybe, maybe burn those records.
Yeah.
But like several thousand athletes every year, including tons of minors. It's dark. But the women in particular really benefited from the drugs. And that's why the female records have stood. And the male records have slowly, over the years, been broken more so. So can Sydney McLaughlin-Nervone, who called Denny, he said yesterday, people feel confident in, as a clean athlete, can she chase down Marita Koch? Cool.
That'd be good.
Yeah. All right. William, thanks very much.
Thank you, Joe.
Dan.
Pleasure. Sorry, Joe. I'm sorry if
I'm joking. You were good.
I've annoyed your Friday buzz here.
You haven't.
You want to go home and spend time with your kids and, sit there for the whole weekend and say, you should have heard me on radio today. I was talking about how, on the podcast today, I was talking about how, some other dads, they go to the car park, but not me.
That was not what I was saying.
As you go into your fridge full of 2-litre milks.
Not what I was saying. It just wouldn't be the number one piece of advice I'd give a new father. Buy small milkmen.
Sorry, time together is healthy, but time away is also important. I think that actually is good advice.
Absolutely.
As is building your brand. All the three things together.
The three big things.
Triumvirate of parenting.
I love Will's Twitter post with all the emojis breaking down each one. That's a brand. I like that. Yeah.
Someone's got
What is the brand you're building?
personal.
Okay.
Personal.
All right, that's us. We're back Monday. Nothing out of the ordinary next week as of yet.
Big weekend, Ryder Cup, NFL.
Oh, Jesus. Ryder Cup, NFL. I didn't get it. We'll do the how do we feel about the NFL?
URC back. It's busy.
There's an Oireachtas committee here.
Oh, God.
Oh, wow. Well, that'll
It
be...
sounds like you've got a lot of other good stuff, but if you need me to drop in on Thursday...
Oh, no,
I
Thursday.
might.
Thursday.
I might do that.
All right. Thanks, everyone.